On this episode of Locked On Angels, the Angels signed Kevin Newman on Thursday, and we're going to share the details of how he fits on this team. And the Angels do have an opportunity to sign Roki Sasaki. I know. There's a lot of rumors about that, but let's talk about it. Do they have a chance? And what kind of pitch would they give Roki Sasaki? We're going to pitch the Angels on what kind of pitch they should give. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Happy Friday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, we're in our third offseason here as the hosts of Locked On Angels, lifelong fans of this team, and we hope you are too. We're here 5 days a week talking Angels baseball with you, Monday through Friday, every single weekday, till about mid-December. We got a few more weeks left. I'd say about a month left, Mike. So 5 days a week for about a month. Then we'll drop down to 3 days a week, and then we'll ramp back up before spring training. On today's show, lots happening around Halo land. What kind of pitch do the Halos give to Roki Sasaki to convince him to come to Anaheim? Look, it's an interesting situation because everybody has a chance. All 30 teams have a chance. Maybe not the A's, but even if they wanted to, they could. Yeah. They could make a pitch, Mike. But that's the intriguing thing about Roki Sasaki is that everybody has a chance, and we'll get into what the Angels can do about that. But first, got some player news yesterday. The Angels signed infielder Kevin Newman. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, the Angels say hello to Newman.
Hey,
had to do it.
It's going to be a constant thing. Just prepare yourselves every day.
Especially with Randazzo and Gooby on broadcast with him. So they love Seinfeld as well. It was a 1-year, $2.5 million deal with a club option, John, a $2.5 million club option for 2026 with a $250,000 buyout. Newman is 31, just came off this type of season with the Diamondbacks, a 278 hitter, 311 on base, 375 slugging, and a 686 OPS with a 91 OPS plus, 80 hits, 3 home runs, 41 runs, 28 RBIs, and 8 stolen bases. He's primarily a shortstop, somebody that can fill in for Zach Neto when Zach Neto is going to be out, at least at the start of the season. Johnny also can play second, he can play third, and he can even back up at first. He played 55 games at short, 44 at second last year, 10 games at first, and 8 games at third base. He's played with the Pirates, he's played with the Reds, and then he was with the Diamondbacks just last season. John, he's probably going to get a whole lot more games played with the Angels this next season because of his versatility. I could see him, John, being somebody that fills in for Zach Neto and then perhaps gets some primary starts at third base. I know he's not like a star, and I know he probably wasn't brought in to be a starter. We'll talk about that in a minute, but he might get a whole lot more time on the field and in the lineup with this Halo team, the way that it's made up right now.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is if you look over his numbers and you look at the number of plate appearances, there's a strong correlation, Mike, between the more plate appearances he has, the better his batting average is. And you can kind of see that if you look over his year-to-year numbers. We'll talk about the bat in a second, but the most important part of this signing is his defense. In 2024, Kevin Newman had 6 defensive runs saved at second base and 3 outs above average at second, 4 defensive runs saved at shortstop, and 4 outs above average at second base. Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register noted that Neto had 11 defensive runs saved in 1,332 innings at shortstop compared to Newman's 754 in a thirds innings. So you can see how quickly Newman's I keep saying Newman, it's making myself laugh. You can see how quickly he was able to stack up those defensive runs saved, those outs above average, that sort of thing. I love this tweet from Ryan Falla. He's a great follow on Twitter. If you want to give him a follow, he tweeted this and it summed it up really well for me. In addition to having a bat with actual life, Kevin Newman was worth 6 defensive runs saved at second base and 4 defensive runs saved at shortstop through 2024, an immediate upgrade over former backup Luis Guillorme, who had 3 defensive runs saved in 308 innings, and former starter Brandon Drury, who had -5 defensive runs saved last year across 435 innings. So, Mike, when you compare Kevin Newman to somebody like Brandon Drury, I think that the power is not there. And I know Brandon Drury had a powerful bat in 2023. Obviously, he was hurt. He was struggling, all of that last season. And then Luis Guillorme was somebody they traded for. What was that, about May? It was pretty.
Yeah, it was pretty early, huh? Yeah.
So it's nice to have this out of the way and that the Angels aren't going, who do we get for a backup here? Because, they did that with Eduardo Escobar. They did that with Mike Moustakas, and then they did that with Guillorme. So it's nice to have somebody like Kevin Newman now over the offseason and have that all kind of buttoned up before you head into 2025.
Those defensive numbers are great. His bat isn't bad, though, John. Like, he's not a bad hitter. And as you pointed out, he's better over a period of time when he gets more at bats, right?
Yeah, he's a specific kind of hitter that isn't going to, again, 3 home runs, right? 28 RBI. Yeah. He's not going to be the clutch guy that you get in terms of, we need a big home run right here. That's not him.
Right.
But what he does bring to the table, I think we have some good stats here to talk about when it comes to him at the plate.
Yeah, his K rate last year was 15.4%. It's 12.4 over his career. And the biggest thing for Newman is his contact, which is why he had a really good batting average, 278 batting average. And that goes up the more that he has at bats. His zone contact, John, 92.2%. League average, 85.2%. His outside the zone contact, 66%. League average, 56.2%. And then his contact rate overall, 84.2%. League average, 76.8. So he's better in all of those areas over league average. And then as you get deeper into the numbers, they actually look pretty good, don't they?
Yeah, he's got a swinging strike rate, meaning swinging and missing on a strike at 7.7%, and the league average is 11.1%. So again, contact. He's above all the good metrics and league averages that you want, and he's below league average on swinging strike rate. So he's not swinging through a ton of pitches that he sees, and he makes really good swing decisions in the zone as well. And then the outside the zone contact, like you mentioned, 66%. That means even if he's, chasing, like, you're worried about somebody chasing after bad pitches, he's still making contact on those. He's not swinging and missing and, the slider away or whatever. He can still put the bat on the ball there. Here's some interesting stats I found, Mike. With on the first pitch, Kevin Newman has a 333 batting average last year. So expect to see a lot of ambush swings on that first pitch because he's had a lot of success there. This is what I like. A 400 average when he's ahead in the count, be it 1-0, 2-1, that sort of thing.
Right.
And then a 294 average when he's in even counts, 1-1, 2-2, or 0-0, right? Now, when he's behind in the count, it's a 193 average. So look for Kevin Newman to work to stay ahead in the count, so that way it leads to a lot more success for him.
Yeah, so he's going to probably fill in, more than likely, for Zach Neto until he returns at the start of the year. He can continue to play second base, third base, even first base. With the Diamondbacks, he mainly hit 8th or 9th in the batting order, and so he can turn over the order to the top of the lineup. Probably going to be, I would assume, 8th, because it seems like Wash likes to have top of the lineup guy at 9th, and then another top of the lineup guy at the top of the order. The Angels did make room, John. They DFA'd Matt Thaiss off the 40-man roster. A lot of conversation about should they have traded him, or could they have have gotten something for him.
Could they have DFA'd Jose Suarez instead? Nope. Got to have Jose Suarez on this team some way, somehow.
There's some interesting decisions there with Suarez still being there, and that's a whole nother segment and a whole nother conversation. Now, teams could claim him and get him, or he could accept a minor league assignment with the Angels, or he could take a release. And so a lot of moving parts there. John, what are some thoughts that you have on Kevin Newman? Because I do have some thoughts, and I would love to speak to one particular group, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, for me, this is I want to make sure I get the name right because it's an everydayer. I think it's Ben Plimby brought up this notion a couple of weeks ago, and I wrote it down because I've wanted to cover it. But he said, how do the Angels not go from Zach Neto to Jack Lopez?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And to me, this is how you do it. And I understand they have Kingery, they've got Ryan Noda, right? So they have some guys in reserves, but I wasn't excited about Kingery or Noda. I'm a little bit excited about, but the fact is, this is major league talent that you're getting to replace Zach Neto. Now, unfortunately, this means that, Neto is going to take a little bit of time, like we discussed earlier this week, to come back and play this season. However, it's so nice to have like league average quality or above out of Kevin Newman. I know the OPS plus is 91, so that's 9% below league average. But man, you look at the guys they ran out there last season to play the infield, and Kevin Newman is better than all of them with the bat, with the glove. And so there's a lot to like here. I know it's not a splashy signing. I know it's not exciting, but I still think they need to add somebody for the infield, like somebody who's going to be your second baseman while Rengifo plays third. And so there's two ways that this could go, Mike. He's going to fill in at shortstop, of course, but when Neto is back, it will be interesting to see if they have somebody to put Newman on the bench, which is where he should be. He should be off the bench, backup, that sort of thing. A good backup, a strong bench piece. At the same time, I still think the Angels need to add somebody, like we've been saying. Hae-Sung Kim from the KBO would be a great addition to this team. I think that they should go that route. But in terms of having some depth, and again, not falling from Zach Neto to Jack Lopez, this is how you do it right there.
Yeah. I saw Locked On Everydayer James Russell Barton comment on Dr. Top Plays post about this, Angels Top Plays. And he said something that I think is very appropriate. He said, only the casuals will complain about this move. And here's the point. Here's the point. If you're watching this team every day, which many of us are, we know that this is a really good move. We also know that it's early in the offseason and that some of the bigger moves happen during the GM winter meetings or even after that. What Perry Manassian is doing is he's building this roster from the back end up. And so he's filling in all of the pieces with major league ready talent, guys who can bring a great bat or a great arm to this rotation or this lineup that are going to be guys that they can count on when the inevitable injury happens. And so that's why I really like the moves that he's made. I'm not super excited about him if that's all that we do. And that's the thing. You got to be patient in the offseason. What Perry has proven so far, and there's a lot of talk out there right now about Perry Manassian, a lot of conversations of, so the Angels going to be the only team that actually makes moves this offseason because nobody else really has. Sure. And some people have said Perry hasn't slept probably since the offseason started. And there was a response to that said, nobody in that front office has slept. And so they're doing a lot of things. They're doing a lot of work. And what they've done is they're building it from the back end up. So I'm a guy that would say, let's be patient because I think that there are some other big moves coming. Maybe not Corbin Burns type of moves, but moves that will be significant to this roster. And so I like these moves so far, especially Kevin Newman, because he's somebody that there isn't a drop off too much from Zach Neto to Kevin Newman. It's not going to be Zach Neto to Jack Lopez. The gap isn't going to be as huge as it's been in the last few years.
This is for everybody who wanted David Fletcher back. This is 2019 successful before he got figured out David Fletcher. Yeah. Right? This is who Kevin Newman will be. He'll be a guy who makes contact. He can hit for average, not going to bring a lot of power, but he isn't going to strike out all the time. Might not take as many walks, but David Fletcher didn't really seem to walk a whole lot either. But this is kind of who that reminds me of, Mike, to be honest with you. It reminds me of successful David Fletcher around 2019, 2020. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, Roki Sasaki is on his way to the MLB. Do the Angels even have a shot? And what kind of pitch could they give him? We're going to share all of that coming right up.
Today's show is brought to you by our new friends at SelectQuote. When it comes to insurance, especially life insurance, you need the team of friends and leaders at SelectQuote on your team. They're one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience. They've helped over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that will cost you more and cover you less, and you don't want that. But with SelectQuote, they're licensed insurance agents. They work for you to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. And if you're in good health, John, you're in good health. I'm in good health. They work with carriers to get you same-day coverage. Trust me, I love that because then you don't have to keep making phone calls and keep working on this. They get same-day coverage for you, and they can get you up to $5 million in same-day coverage with no medical exam required. These policies are more affordable than you think as well. For $1 million policy, it's as little as $20 per month. So head to their website, selectquote.com/lockedon, and a licensed insurance agent will give you a call right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Again, the website is selectquote.com/lockedon. Get started there. SelectQuote, they shop, you save.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, friends, we're at the time of the week. We told you we were going to do it this week. It's time to talk about Roki Sasaki. He will be available to all 30 teams starting January 15th, 2025. That's when international free agency opens up. Sasaki, his path to MLB will be similar to Shohei Ohtani, who arrived at 23 and signed with the Angels for $2.3 million. The money spent, the money spent will be money that teams have in their international bonus pool money. Here's the numbers for each team. In 2025, the international bonus pools of $7.5555 million goes to the Reds, the Tigers, the Marlins, the Brewers, the Twins, I hate that acronym, ATH, the Athletics, just because they're not Oakland anymore, Seattle, and Tampa Bay. In the second tier of bonus pool money, Mike, we've got the Diamondbacks, the Orioles, we've got the Guardians, the Rockies, the Royals, and Pittsburgh with $6.9 million in bonus pool money. The Angels fall into this bracket. The third round is about $6.26 million. Braves, Red Sox, Cubs, White Sox, Angels, Mets, Yankees, Phillies, San Diego, Rangers, Blue Jays, and Nationals. Then all the way down here, there's your Kramer Newman reference. Fourth is Houston and St. Louis with $5.6 million. Then the Dodgers and San Francisco have international bonus pool money of $5.14 million. Sasaki will join an organization on a minor league deal, and then a team can add him to the major league roster before 2025. The incentive is how much of that international bonus pool money are you going to give Roki Sasaki in order to convince him to play on your team, right? And that's kind of why we say every team has a chance, because it's not like Yamamoto, who signed for buku bucks with the Dodgers. Yamamoto, obviously 26, and so he was not considered an international amateur free agent because Roki is 23. He is an international amateur free agent and must be signed with that bonus pool money. Anything beyond that comes later on down the line, right?
Now, who has the best chance? Well, everybody is saying, of course, it's the Dodgers. The percentages out there right now, Dodgers 83%, Padres 10%, and then the field, everybody else 7%. But is the Dodgers the obvious choice? A lot of people will say because they're winning and because they've got Ohtani and they've got Yamamoto. But some baseball experts say no, and here's why. Sasaki is close to right-hander Yu Darvish, who's with the Padres. New York, both New York teams obviously will have an extreme interest in Sasaki and are favored for two reasons. One, because of their financials and because of their success. Cubs are on the table because the Cubs are just the Cubs. Everybody loves the Cubs. Blue Jays are thought to be a favorite because they're an international ball club. And then the Rangers are considered because of Darvish's development with the Rangers, and Japanese players have enjoyed playing there. Of course, the Rays are always considered because of their reputation of being the best for developing and bringing the best out of players. I thought this was interesting. Al Leiter, former pitcher, said on Tuesday on the MLB Network that Japanese players historically don't team up with countrymen after coming to the United States. We heard from one of our everydayers that watches in Japan that actually is true. When we talked about Shohei Ohtani and where he would go, players want to honor the legacy of other Japanese players and may not always, but may not sign where other players that are from Japan are.
Yeah, it's a matter of not stealing anybody's spotlight or anything like that.
They're very honorable.
Obviously, Ohtani and Yamamoto are the exception to that rule, but you think about Kodai Senga and you think about, the number of Japanese pitchers and players who have come over, gone to different teams. So that's something to take into consideration. All teams are going to make a pitch to Sasaki, and he said over the weekend that he wants that. Sasaki's people said this is not a foregone conclusion, and he told each team to make your pitch. One note, durability is the big question with Roki Sasaki. His career high in innings was set in 2022. It was 129 and 1/3 innings pitched. This year, he made 18 starts after a torn oblique, and then right arm soreness caused him to sit out about a quarter of his starts. Now, last time they had somebody who was an international amateur free agent, it was Shohei Ohtani, and he went to the Angels, and it wasn't expected. Now, he didn't choose the Angels because of one main factor. He chose the Angels because they were willing to let him pitch and hit. And yes, the National League was still doing no DH at the time. However, the big thing here were teams willing to let Ohtani work through the adversity, the ups and downs, and figuring things out. And trust me, there was a lot of adversity for Shohei when he first came over. Obviously, had to have the surgery that first year, so he only pitched about 8 starts, or he didn't get through half the year, but he continued to hit, and he hit well in 18, and he hit well in 19. 2020 was a struggle, and then 2021 was where he was fully healthy, went off, and became MVP Shohei that we know today. Mike, can the Halos repeat what they were able to do with Shohei Ohtani, this time with Roki Sasaki?
Well, they have the money to be able to give Sasaki, because they're in the higher tiers of international bonus pool money. The narrative around the organization, for those of us that watch it closely, obviously isn't positive. And so I wonder if that might be the narrative outside of the organization, and if that's going to work against the Angels. They obviously have the same chance as anybody else. Now, there will be some people that will say, well, he's not going to win here if that narrative is out there. But I think that you have to really layer this with a couple of factors. And in our next segment, we're going to talk about what the Angels can actually pitch to Sasaki. But I do think that they have a pretty good shot. Obviously, there are some other teams that will maybe have a better shot.
Sure.
But if they can lay out a really good pitch, I think that there's a lot of positives in Roki Sasaki coming to Anaheim and being a part of this starting rotation right now.
The one thing that I take into consideration is I know we give him a lot of grief, and we have given him a lot of grief, but Billy Epler made a very strong investment in scouting Ohtani, watching Ohtani, knowing Ohtani when he was still in high school. Like, Billy Epler is intertwined with Shohei Ohtani's story. And so it was so fortunate that he was our GM at the time that Ohtani was posted and able to come over to MLB. I think that plays a huge factor in why the Angels were able to secure him, because there was trust and a relationship there. And so I think that, to me, is one of the different marks this time around. And look, it's Sasaki is highly touted. I mean, if you watch the WBC and you watch that splitter he throws, man, it's so good. And it just had the whole American team off their game. And so with that said, I think that this is definitely somebody that you're excited about. It's very often, or not very often, you get somebody like this coming over to MLB. And so now we want to take a look at, what do the Halos have to offer? What can they say in a pitch meeting? And we'll get to that in just a minute.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. This sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place live bets on all sports, including the NFL, all in one place. You get a hunch in the middle of the game. You can check out the latest stats, view the play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. You never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
So what's the pitch, Mike? What's the pitch that the Halos can give to Roki Sasaki in order to convince him to come and play baseball in Anaheim? Why don't you get us started?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of thoughts that we can throw at Roki Sasaki that the Angels should present to him. One, this young team. There is a young core with a chance to really develop and grow. And I think that this young core, if they continue to grow, will be a team of players that will help this team win. And they're going to get a chance to play many years together. So you're not coming in with a bunch of veterans and then starting over. You're actually coming in as we're building this thing, which leads, I think, to the second thing, John, development. This young core has developed, and they're given a chance to grow. And I think Sasaki will also be given a chance to grow. They're not in a situation where the spotlight is too bright, and so it gives him a chance to work through the kinks. Man, if Shohei was anywhere else but Anaheim during the rough years, I don't think that he would be, and you've pointed this out, I don't think he would be as adored by all of baseball as he is right now, because Angel fans were really good to him and he responded by being really good to us, but it took him a while to get there, didn't it?
Yeah. I think he would have been eaten up by New York media, or even if he had been on the Dodgers initially, because those fan bases are not as forgiving as the Angels fan base. But we were very excited to have Shohei, and knew that eventually he could get through the struggles and become who he is today. And so I think that is a big factor as well. One thing, Mike, that I think is important to point out is the fast movement of the Angel system. Harry Manassian spoke on it to Foul Territory. We addressed it on this show. If the players have the right mindset, the right makeup, and the right tools, and they're able to handle Major League Baseball, they don't keep them in the minors for keeping them down there's sake, if that makes sense. And the Angels are really kind of the only team that can claim that. They're the ones who get told all the time, oh, they're rushing prospects, they're rushing this guy, they're rushing this guy. Well, the truth is that if you end up with the Angels, you know you're going to be on an MLB team. Not that Sasaki would be in the minor leagues or anything like that, but you can trust that the people around you are moving up quickly. They're young, they're about your age, and you're going to be a piece of the puzzle, a huge piece of the puzzle if you're Sasaki, that leads this team to success down the road.
Yeah, I think the coaching, John, with Wash and Enright specifically, I think they're proven commodities that will help these players get better. I also think that the Angels fan base is something that you need to pitch, because we're in this thing no matter what, right? I mean, we're cheering for this team.
At this point, yeah.
It feels like that, right? And I think we'll be more in with Sasaki, which then brings, I think, a specific precious group of fans, and that's the Japanese baseball fan. They're smart fans, but they don't necessarily root for a team. They root for a player, and eyes have already been on the Halos in the past. And I think Sasaki would just become another player that these Japanese fans could really root for. And they know the Angels. These Japanese fans know the Angels. And so it wouldn't be a foreign thing for them to start watching. And they already kind of have fallen in love with some of these players. They may not be as around as much. We've had everydayer tell us Japanese fans will kind of follow their favorite player. But with Sasaki on the Angels, I think he brings more eyeballs, and he actually could make a financial impact on this team as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if I had to sit here and I was having this pitch meeting with Roki Sasaki, I would say, look, you're an important part of what's beginning here in Anaheim. You are crucial to this team going places. Mike, I've always been convinced, and for better, for worse, that there are players out there who, they want to be the guy who takes a team somewhere and then they get their statue in front of the stadium, right? Like I feel that way about Mike Trout. I feel like that maybe with even like an Aaron Judge, right? Like I don't see Judge going somewhere else just for the sake of winning something. I think, no, he wants to win with the Yankees, right? Mm-hmm. And he wants to be the guy to help get them there. I know he didn't show up very much in the World Series and the playoffs, but the fact is, I think that there's something to being the guy who can help this team get to where they need to go, and then you are forever remembered as that guy. I mean, I know Tim Salmon spent most of all of his career with the Angels, but what I mean to say is he was part of the 2002 team. Obviously, he stayed with the Angels his whole career, but I think being the guy who came up through the system, and then like Garrett Anderson too, like being guys who came up through the system and got their team a World Series, I think is like really respectable. I don't know if the wider baseball audience respects that as much, but man, if you're the guy that a team can count on to take you to the promised land, and that's the pitch you can make to somebody like Roki Sasaki, I think that's what you go with. I think that you tell them there's something good happening here. We've got a young core working its way up. May not be this year, may not be next year, but it's definitely going to happen, and you'll be a key piece of the puzzle that helps take us there.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB with our friend Sully. He's bringing a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. You can find his show, Locked On MLB, on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show, get in the comment section on YouTube, hit that like button and subscribe button on your way down there. On the road to 9,000. Let's go. We hit 8,000. Thank you, everybody who helped us get there. And we're looking onward and upward, baby. Mike, what do we have on deck on Monday's show?
Well, the question that we've been wrestling through off the air is this the place to be, to keep the Seinfeld references going? The place to be. Do players even want to come here? Now, it's easy to say, no, they don't want to come here. But sure. I think that you just brought up something that we need to maybe tease out a bit. So let's do that on Monday on Locked On Angels.
Oh, and I've got a lot of history to show that doesn't matter if you're the stinky Angels, 63 and 99. There have been worse teams who have signed great players, and we'll get into that history as well. Until then, we hope you have a great weekend. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
Somebody's going to read the title to Monday's show and not watch the show and go, no! So watch the show.
Right. Watch the show.